Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Hi, everyone. Okay, I am a little starstruck today. So excited about our guest. Our listeners, we grew up in the 80s, and we have a legendary comedian with us. Comedian and actress. You will all know her from Night Court as bailiff Roz Russell, who just her deadpan humor was fabulous. I never missed an episode. She went on to act in other things like Cheers and Living Single. And I can't wait to hear about Love Boat because that was where I was every Saturday night. Then she took some time off. We're going to talk about that. And most recently, she's come back on 911, Masked Singer, and she came back for the reboot of Night Court. So it is such an honor and a pleasure to have Marsha Warfield with us today. Welcome, Marsha.
Thank you so much. I almost don't recognize that person you just introduced.
Really? I mean, women who are listening to this show, women our age, you were it. I mean, you were the comedian back then, and that show was fabulous because of you. So really excited. And what I always do on the show is, you don't wake up as a legendary comedian. When did you know you were funny?
Oh, whoa, that doesn't have anything to do with when I found out I was a comedian. I always liked comedy and the comedians. And even as a child, my mother made sure I knew how to read by the time I was 4. And so she got me a library card. And the first books I remember taking out were kids' cookbooks and joke books. I always wanted to make people laugh. I always wanted to make my mother laugh. And so I was telling knock-knock jokes and
I was just going to ask you, does the career start with the knock-knock joke?
Yeah, but back in the day, people were a lot crueler. So they had dead baby jokes and little Audrey, who was a little 5-year-old sadist who was doing horrible things. And she would just laugh and laugh because she knew the brakes didn't work. Or something like that. And so I got exposed to all kinds of humor. And then there were variety shows back in the day. I grew up on variety shows and there were always comedians and there were always sketches. And I loved those. But as far as being a comedian, I didn't have any concept that this was a possibility, that those people were not somehow anointed somehow and predestined to become comedians. There was no pathway that I knew of until 1974. Yeah, 1974.
And what happened in 1974?
In 1974, Tom Dreesen had just broken up with his partner, Tim Reed. And Tim and Tom were a comedy team, an interracial comedy team. And they had been working around the country for maybe 10 years, 10 years, I don't know. But they had broken up. Tim had moved to Los Angeles, and now Tom was doing a solo act. And so he needed a place to work out. But these things didn't exist back then. They were just coming into being. And so the improv in New York was switching over from folk music and comedy to all comedy. They had just opened a club in Los Angeles, and the Comedy Store had just opened in LA. And so they had Monday night, new comic nights. Tom took that concept and opened a Monday night new comic. It wasn't just new comics, but open mic night. And there was an article in the paper about it. And I told a friend of mine I was going to do it. And she said, okay. And then I never went. she came to my house and picked me up and put me in her car. And we went down and she introduced me to Tom. And I went on at about 2 a.m. to a couple of drunks and a couple of guys cleaning up and the comedians who were left.
And how long is a segment? Do you just probably get 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or do you actually get a full set?
It was about 5 minutes, but I had no concept of any of that or what that meant or how long or what. I just talked until I didn't have anything else to say, and that took about 4 or 5 minutes, and I was done. But I was smitten from that moment on. I felt like I had been called to my purpose, and the light shone down, and I never questioned what I was supposed to do from that point on.
And how old were you at that point?
20.
20.
I had just turned 20.
So how do you go from the 2 a.m. slot to start, building? I mean, the career you've had is tremendous. And as we all know, I've interviewed, other celebrities. It's a long haul. There's no such thing as overnight success.
No. Well, there is sometimes, it only takes one gig to become famous. One gig. That's all. One phone call. And you never know when that call is going to come. For some people, it comes like the first night they go on stage and they have to scramble to catch up with their own career. And then some people, it takes longer. And some people are like in their 70s and get that call. So you never know. You just have to stay ready. But there are no blueprints. There are no paths to success that are already laid out. Everybody finds their own path. None of us are asked. Nobody asked me to do this, and I try to tell comedians and people that you're doing this because you want to. So you decided you were going to do this and you found a way. And that's the only way to do it. So there were no, like I said, open mics or anything. We tried to open clubs. We would go in the clubs and say, let us do an open mic for the door. And we ended up cleaning out a lot of folk club storage rooms and upstairs stuff. We'd clean everything out and put a mic up there and have a show. But what happened to me, I found a club to work at regularly on the south side of Chicago called Roy's Show Lounge. And I got to be the house comedian there and host for a show that was trying to do a Cotton Club kind of thing. They had an 18-piece band. They had various singers and acts come in, and I was the host and MC. Welcome to Roy Show Lounge. We'd like to introduce you to blah, 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 blah. And so I cut my teeth there. And then when that club, that waned, that ran its course, I still was trying to pick up gigs, and doing open mics. There was one show that was in a room about the size of the room I'm in, and they would get an 18-piece band in there and singers and comedians, and there'd be more of us on stage or involved in the show than there were in the audience. And at the end of the night, Larry Ball, who was the conductor and was doing the show, Larry would split up the door between the comedians and whoever worked that night. So we'd get like $1. We'd get $1, and that was bus fare home, and that was good enough. And so after a couple of years, Chicago is geared more toward improv, and I didn't really want to do improv. And everything, all the buzz at that time was California. You would either go to Los Angeles or go to San Francisco, and people were still hitchhiking. Kids were still living on the street. And the hate was a big deal in San Francisco and Los Angeles. The comedians were flocking to the Comedy Store. And I told my mother I was going to the West Coast. I was going to Los Angeles. I was going to hitchhike if I had to. I didn't care, hitch a ride with somebody. I was going to Los Angeles. And she told me I was crazy. which I was. I mean, I'm 22 years old, and I think I can go to Los Angeles and live by myself and don't know anybody and don't have any money.
I was going to say, and the dollar you made last night is not going to get you very far.
And that's pretty much all I had. So for my 22nd birthday, she gave me a trip to Los Angeles and 2 weeks at the Continental Hyatt House, which was right next door to the Comedy Store. And I had $150 and a round trip ticket. So when I got to Los Angeles, I cashed in the ticket and I went to the Comedy Store that night. And that Monday, I went on for the open mic, and I had already gotten a job. I was a switchboard operator, and I had gotten a job as a switchboard operator for an answering service. We didn't have, the technology we have now, so you actually had to have somebody answer your phone and take your messages. And so I did that. I sold my leather coat, and I never left.
So how long did it take you from doing, the Comedy Store? Did you get the call quickly, or did you have to pay your dues?
Both. There are a lot of little successes before there's a big success. And like I said, you never know which one's going to be the big success. And so I started getting opening act gigs at small clubs for singers and working in the new comedy clubs that were popping up. And some of the old ones, the Ice House in Pasadena had been open and had the Smothers Brothers and Robert Klein had been working there and stuff. I started working in those clubs. And then a club opened in Newport Beach called the Laugh Stop. And I started working there. And I was the only Black person in town, except for Rodney Winfield when he would come to town. But it was so isolated that when I got to town, people were driving down the street. I was crossing the street and people driving by would go, "Hi, Marsha." And I'm like, how the heck do they know who I am? And I finally said, "How do you know who I am?" And they said, "You're the Black girl at the club. God. And we only have one Black person in town, and his name's Clarence. Do you know Clarence?" No, I don't.
I don't know Clarence.
But within a year, a little more than a year, I got booked on the Richard Pryor show. Wow. I had done the Merv Griffin show. I had done the Alan King show, Jim Nabors show.
Yeah. What was Jim Nabors like?
Oh, he's a sweetheart. He was a sweetheart. In fact, there was a show later called The Comedy Shop.
Okay.
I think it was a comedy shop. And they had celebrities bring on new comedians. And he introduced me as somebody who had been on the show, and he brought me out. He was very nice. Mac Davis. I did the Mac Davis show. But I was doing, little stand-up gigs here and there. I opened for Esther Phillips at the Troubadour for $25. I opened for George Duke at somewhere, the Roxy. That was a big deal back then.
Sure.
And I think I made $50. But then the Pryor show came through Paul Mooney, who was, we were all working the Comedy Store, and Paul was working with Richard Pryor. And when his special got picked up, and he said, why, he and Richard decided why hire, go through casting. We got a casting pool right here at the Comedy Store. So they booked the whole show from the Comedy Store, and we all got our union cards and everything from working on that show. And that was in 1977. I got to Los Angeles March 5th, 1976.
Okay. So it didn't take too long.
Yeah. And then at 23, I got that big break. And that led to a show called That Thing on ABC, which was a comedy variety show with a lot of young people. And from Chicago, Mandy Patinkin, probably one of his first shows. Shelley Long, probably one of her first things, and the show didn't go. But because I had that offer, I didn't have an agent. So because I had that offer, I called ICM, which was the biggest agency in town at that. They had just edged out William Morris and ICM was the young hip place to go. So I called them up and told them I had a TV gig and I didn't have an agent and I needed an agent. Could they help me? And they said, what? That doesn't happen. And I said, yes, I have a network TV show on ABC. I have an offer and I need an agent. And so they put me on hold about 5 times. And then finally, a young man picked up the phone and said, hi, you need an agent? I said, yes. He said, okay, let's talk. And I got signed to ICM.
Oh my gosh.
Because I said so.
Wow. But this is the thing that, and we talk about this a lot, that I don't think the younger generation today knows as much. Like all these women our age and older that I've interviewed, the persistence and the perseverance and the knocking on doors and picking up the phone, that's how we made it. That's how we got to where we are because we weren't afraid to ask. You called the biggest agency and said, hey, I need an agent. That's fantastic.
Say no.
Right. That's what I say all the time.
I also had so many brothers. The comedians, the up-and-coming comedians, always treated me like a peer, but also like very brotherly. They would look out for me. They didn't see me as competition, so they would give me tips and, call this guy and go this place. So I was pretty comfortable, even though I didn't have any money. I didn't have, any connections. I didn't know anybody, but people tended to like my work. And since there weren't a whole lot of Black women doing stand-up, I guess I kind of stood out.
Am I correct when I read that you were the first Black female comedian on Saturday Night Live?
Never did Saturday Night Live. I don't know where that come from. Never did Saturday Night Live.
That darn Wikipedia. No, it wasn't Wikipedia.
No,
I found that somewhere.
I didn't get Saturday Night Live. I got the Pryor Show, and I got some other appearances. Doing stuff. I got the Marva Collins story. Dramatic actress. But in 1979, I won the San Francisco stand-up comedy competition. And then they had a national competition that next year in San Francisco, and I won that. So that got me an agent. And he started sending me out on acting gigs. And I'm like, I'm not an actress. I'm a stand-up. I want to do stand-up. Send me out, get me gigs. And they had started franchising a lot of clubs, and I started working in clubs and traveling. But he sent me out on acting gigs. So there was a gig in Chicago a couple of years later, the Marva Collins story, starring Cicely Tyson. And he said, go ahead and meet the people. And I'm like, I know. So I go ahead and I meet the people. They hire me. The whole scene is me talking. Cicely Tyson just sits there.
Oh,
while I talk. And I have no idea what I'm doing. I never had any idea what I was doing. I just did it.
And that wasn't a comedic role. That was a
straight up drama role. So
wow.
I had to emote. And there's some scenery chewing and stuff going on. But I got through it, and things just happen when they happen. I got gigs here, a gig there. But mostly it was just grinded out doing stand-up around the country. Being the only Black girl in town all around the country.
But then you got Roz, and my husband said it yesterday when he found out I was interviewing you. He's like, that is one of my favorite characters ever. Like, it was just the deadpan humor, and the timing was always impeccable. That had to have been a dream job.
It was. But again, I did not see myself as an actress, and every big gig I had gotten before that, I agonized when there's TV. I mean, the Richard Pryor show, there were scenes I had to do with Richard, just me and Richard. I what the heck? I don't know. I'm 23 years old. This is Richard Pryor. He's not just the hottest comic in the country. He is God. He is the
Right.
comedy God. And I'm sitting across me. Me, what the heck do I know? And so I had to learn on the fly all the time. And when I got Night Court, I had no idea what I was doing. Night Court was like the number 4 show in the country at that time. And John Larroquette was, winning Emmys like Skittles. It's like he had bunches of them. And he took his name out of competition because he had won so many. He's like, it's not going to do any good to keep it. Harry was being nominated. He was beating Harry.
Oh.
They were both.
So let Harry get it
every year. So it was a big deal. And I'm walking into a role where both bailiffs had passed away. And the Flo Hallop, who had just died, she died on hiatus. So they already had the shows booked out and then figured and now we're in a tizzy. So what are we going to do? And I'm not an actress and I don't care. Okay, that's lovely. And Night Courts, when I get a chance to see it, because I'm usually on stage, and we didn't have VCRs and all that, not that I could afford. And so I'd only seen it once or twice. And so I don't care. So I go in, they tell me to go in and meet the producer. I meet the producer. He's got a fireplace going. It's August. There's a fireplace going. And the air conditioner is on blast. And I'm like, why do you have the air conditioner on and the fireplace going? He said, because I can. And so I sat down. I didn't dress up for the interview. I had on sweats. I had smoked at the time. I had a pack of cigarettes. I was just sitting like, I don't care. And he says, give me a cigarette. And we started talking. Turned out he was from Chicago. He knew who I was, blah, blah, blah. And he said, we don't know what we're going to do, but we'll call you when we figure it out. I was on my way to Seattle to do stand-up. And when I got to Seattle, they said, call your agent. You got it.
Yay.
I got what? Night Court. Really? Okay. So now they're saying maybe 2 weeks from now or something, you do the first gig. I only got hired for one show. And 2 weeks from now, you're going to do that show, or 3 weeks, something like that. I panicked. So I told my agent, you got to get me in an acting class. I don't even know what to do, where to go. He said, okay. And he got me in this class called Acting for the Camera. They told me to get a book. They said, get the book, read the first chapter, and come back. And we'll do, for a regular class. I'm fine. I get the book. I opened it up. It said, the key to acting is to keep it simple. So I closed the book and I never went back to the class. And I got to the set and met Harry and everybody. And during rehearsal, he called me up to the bench and said, how you doing? Is everything okay? I said, everything's fine, except I don't know what the heck I'm doing. He said, I don't either. I said, you got to know. He said, I'm not an actor. These guys are actors. We just watch them and do what they do and we'll be fine. And he was very welcoming, and the whole cast was very embraced me from the start. So I was really lucky, and it just flowed from there. I got to pick up. I didn't do the second show that season. I started from the third. I got picked up as a regular.
That's great. It was such, again, like I said, most of the women listening, we all lived through Night Court, and it was a staple. As I mentioned, as was Love Boat. So let's talk quickly about your Love Boat experience.
Love Boat was the second pickup. This wasn't the original show. I don't think it was the first reboot. There was another reboot. And I think Isaac was the captain that time.
I remember that, yeah.
And I did, I think I did a cameo opening segment. It was just a blurb. And that was my one brush with the Love Boat.
Yeah. The bartender who went to captain. I don't know about that, but
Hey, if you TV, people
I
always
know.
say my character wouldn't do that. Your character doesn't exist. Your character would do whatever they write her to do.
Right.
So
Exactly. You do
do
it.
it.
So then you took a break for 20
I
years.
left the night court. I did a few other, got a talk show. I did Empty Nest for 2 years. I did a lot of traveling, a lot of concerts. I was doing theaters in the round. I was working. I was doing pretty good. But then in the 90s, late 90s, a whole lot of personal trauma happened. I lost my house in the Northridge earthquake. I lost my mother and my aunt the following year, within 2 months of each other. And things just weren't going well. And I had the 80s disease, 80s, 70, celebrity disease. And it took its course. And so I ended up in Vegas and with my sister, who was a single mother and needed help with her son. And so I stayed until he graduated.
But that's pretty great, pretty rewarding for him.
Now, well, I was, I was kind of lost at that time, emotionally. I was grieving, didn't know it. And, and I had been so charmed, had such a charmed career that I didn't know what to do when things weren't going well. And so I just stayed
Sometimes
and
we need a
did some.
break.
And I had to say, I had always said privately, if I have to quit tomorrow, I have no kick coming. I have met all my heroes. I have been places I never thought I would go. I've done things I could never imagine. So if this is it, I can't complain. So I just, completely dropped off the radar. I didn't want people going, where is she? What's she doing? Why she look so bad? I didn't want any of that. So I just dropped off the radar and became an auntie mom.
Oh. And then 2017 was a very pivotal year for you.
Yeah. I had been dipping my toes back in to see what it was like to do stand up again. And I realized really quickly that it was back to square one, that I had no residual chops from the last time. I didn't know how to do stand up, period. And I didn't know how to do it in the new business. 20 years is a long time. And so I had to learn all that stuff. So I went back to the clubs. I went back to the open mics. I went back to the 5 minutes and bomb it, try it out, work it out. And I started building an act from the ground up. And it helped that I had friends who, when they saw me starting back up, they would reach out, and like Kim Woodley had reached out to me and asked me to be on a show she was doing. And it was the first, that was the show where I came out publicly. I got to come out publicly because my friend Kim gave me the opportunity. And then there had been a stand-up comedy awards show, a Black stand-up comedy awards in New York. And they gave me a legendary comedian award. And I'm like, really? Are you kidding? Oh, I'm a legend now. I guess I'm old enough to be considered a legend. Anyway, they gave me an award, and I got to come out again, and get recognized and get myself back into the saddle. And then A woman who I had been in touch with on Facebook, one of my Facebook friends said, who's helping you? And I said, nobody. I'm just doing it. She said, I'll help you. And her name's Sherry Kelton. She's a manager, and she started getting my name out, getting me back in the business while I'm learning how to do the whole thing again. I got a 2-night residency at the LA Comedy Club on Wednesday and Thursday night at 10 o'clock, where it's just me and the opening act and 5 people like when I started. And I did that for a few years until the pandemic. And then I started working around. I mean, still, but I slowly but surely getting my chops back, learning how to do this again, learning who I am now as a performer.
I love how it came full circle. And literally you started all over and then you have all the success again.
Well, that's something I'm very grateful for. Most people don't get one bite at the apple. There are millions of people with dreams and many who have dipped their toes into the pool of performing, and it didn't work out. I managed to do it twice. I got no kick coming. I really don't have any room to complain. It's all gravy. It's all good.
No. And I hate that we're getting near the end, but I have to ask you, because I thought this was so funny. Tell the story of how you met your wife.
Oh, she heckled me. She heckled me. She hates me telling that story, but at that LA Comedy Club gig one night, a friend of mine said, one of my friends is having a birthday. Can she come to the club? I'm like, sure. And she comes in. I didn't meet her before the show because, I go on stage and don't mingle with the crowd before the show. So I didn't know who she was, had no idea. I go on stage and I had a line about, I'm looking for a hot young thing, somebody about 50. She said, right here. And I said, okay, that's, then we back and forth. And then I said something else and she, again, I like you. I wanted to get, And I said, okay. And then after the show, I met her outside and she was like, I like all of this. I like you. And I said, okay, fine. And we exchanged numbers and 5 years later, we got married.
Oh, I love that story. That is kind of tying a bow on your career, I think.
I hear again, I got no kick coming. Things, when I am in control of myself, when I am doing what I think I want to do, I need to do, I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate. It's not like it's been easy or gravy or given to me or anything, but I've been able to reap the benefits of my efforts. And
that's so, because you say lucky, quote unquote lucky. And they say the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You worked hard. You worked hard. So you saw when the doors were opening. You were able to jump in and take advantage of opportunity.
Yeah, but those doors, it ain't but so many doors and a lot of people trying to kick them down. So, to get through and like I said, to have the formula work twice, which is really not really a formula. It's basically just don't quit. If there's any lesson from my life, it's that when you quit, nothing happens.
If you don't do, nothing will happen.
So if you don't quit, that one phone call could come at any time. And that one gig could make a difference. And if not, I would have been content to just travel around the country doing stand-up. That was all I was looking for. So had none of these wonderful things happened, I'd have been okay. And so I'm okay. It's all gravy from this point on, especially. It's, this is a gift. And so I just, as long as I don't quit, Just
And I'm
it's
glad
like,
you're back. So
it's like Amazon, you order things from Amazon and you hope they come and then you forget. And so then the doorbell rings and you go outside and it's like Christmas.
Oh.
And yeah, I ordered that, but I forget about that. And that comes later. And, sometimes they delay stuff. Well, it's been a delay, so it won't be for another 6 months and you forget. And then you get these wonderful presents. And it's kind of like that with stand-up. You put the order in and sometimes it comes quick and sometimes it has to wait a while.
Well, you've had an amazing career. I wrap up every show. I have the same 2 questions I ask every guest. What is the greatest accomplishment you've had since you've turned 50? And it could be 60. It could be.
Since I turned, there's so many. I guess, though, watching my nephew graduate from high school, I think that was probably, I felt a purpose, like I had contributed something to someone and someone
That's
I care
amazing.
about very much.
That's really awesome. I love that. And then where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Don't ask me that. I'm 70. Who the heck knows? I'll be grateful and lucky if I'm still around and upright. I think being able to walk on my own, to travel on my own, to still be mobile, to still be physically able to pursue this dream on into the future, to have things to look forward to at my age. Those are the things that I cherish, that I'm very, very grateful for. So, hopefully 10 years from now, I'll still be mobile and upright and able to travel and do jokes. But even if I'm not, I'll probably still be doing stand-up. We don't quit. We, if they have to wheel us out on a bed and put a microphone up, we will still be doing stand-up on until forever. So,
I love it. And your website has a list of your upcoming shows, MarshaWarfield.com, correct?
Yes, at MarshaWarfield.com and MarshaVerse.com. We're going to start doing a a weekly broadcast on that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Great. Well, we'll have all of that in the show notes. Marsha, what an honor to have you with me today. Thank you for joining me.
And I will thank you so much. And if I have any advice for people our age, my mother used to always say, keep living.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.